I am sure we have all heard of Miss Lea Michele at this point. Child musical theater star turned television star turned alleged terror to work with. Allegedly. Since I am all over funny girl TikTok, I see all Lea Michele content all day long. And because of that, I now know that she has not one book, but 2 books. Which is kind of hilarious if you also know the rumor that she can't read. Allegedly. Now, one of these books is a journal with a plethora of different life advice, including health, nutrition, and fitness advice. So, I bought it. I will say right at the beginning, I thought this book was written a little bit more recently. It was written in 2015. Right now it is 2023, so it's been about 8 years. So that does explain a little bit of why a lot of this is so dated, but I still think it's gonna be fun to read through. So hopefully Lea Michele has aged out of a lot of the diet culture that is in this, but who knows? So there's 2 sections I wanna look at today, the fitness section and then the diet and nutrition section. And before we even jump in, I already looked for it. We're gonna look for it one more time. She gives a lot of very specific recommendations in terms of diet, in terms of movement, and I just want to know, like, who helped you with this? Because you're not qualified to be giving this advice. You're not qualified to be prescribing like gluten-free diets to people. Like, who's the RD on this book? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, unless it's like sneakily hidden somewhere, I couldn't find anything. Please let me know in the comments if she had the insight of a registered dietitian or fitness professional, and then please leave their name because they are unhinged. Ugh. All right, we're gonna start with some fitness. I did my homework and I highlighted. So I'm gonna read some excerpts that I thought were telling. We'll pop them up here. We'll discuss. It's pretty easy to get caught up in exercise trend hopping, only to find yourself back on the couch. Whether it's waist cinching tricks that promise to easily knock off 10 pounds, or the newest fitness studio offering the newest routine, it's hard to stay focused, find what actually works for you, and then stick with it. What I've learned over the years is that it really has to come from finding something that you love. If you love to hike, you will wake up in the morning and go for that hike. You'll take out your yoga mat and you'll go to class if that's something you really enjoy. I appreciate this advice. I feel like I say this all the time in my videos, but the best form of movement is the movement that is going to keep you consistent, the movement that you enjoy, the movement you're actually going to show up for. Because if you hate doing something, it's going to be that much harder to get yourself to do it. So I actually think we're starting off strong with some very solid advice. Hopefully throughout these pages, we can figure that out and create some good habits that eventually become something you rely on throughout your life. I love that. We're talking about kind of like a scientific method. Like, we're testing out things that we think we might like. We'll kind of pick and choose, add things to our toolbox, and then develop this movement pattern as a habit that lasts throughout your life. I love it. Okay, so now we're getting into the perfect workout flow chart. Can we see this? I think I got to this point in the book and went, wait, what year was this written? Because some of these things are just like so dated. But she basically goes through and gives you some examples of, like, if you enjoy working out in a group, you can do, I don't even know what half these are, Burn 60, cross fitness camp, hip hop dance class. If you like working out alone, you can do the Tracy Anderson method. We know how we feel about that. So I think this is good. She just gives you a lot of different options, indoors, outdoors, in a group, alone. So you can kind of test out things that you enjoy. Now is where I go, did anyone with any type of knowledge in fitness look at this? The answer is obviously no. So we get this page that says, what are you looking to get out of exercise? AKA, what's your goal, right? What do you want to get out of your movement routine? She lists all of these different things: gain strength, sleep better, have fun, manage stress, get toned. It's 2015, we have to let it slide. And then at the bottom of the page, she tells you if you picked the majority of this color, you need more of this. It kind of reminds me of like those quizzes in magazines. It's like, if you chose mostly C's, then you'll never find love. I don't know. Okay, so I'll kind of like pop up in here what this page is so we can look and talk together. If you picked a majority of purples, you need cardio, i.e. exercise that gets your heart rate up for at least 20 to 30 minutes. So purples are sleep better, manage stress, lose weight, train for a marathon. Those are all very different things. I think that this is just a little too much of a blanket statement and probably not fully supported by science or even just specific enough for people. And then we know how I feel about using cardio for weight loss. I think it just really opens up a toxic mentality around movement. It gets into this road of like, how much did I burn? Did I earn this next meal? And then studies have actually shown that long-term, cardio is not the most efficient way to lose weight. If you picked a majority of eggplants, you should focus on strengthening and elongating exercise that's also nice and calming, like yoga and Pilates or weight circuits. Weight circuits, like interval training. So eggplants are gain strength, become more flexible, get toned, and put on muscle mass. It's interesting that she can't just say, strength train. Like nowhere on here does it say strength train, weight circuits, because you still gotta burn them calories. That's how you get toned. If you picked a majority of grays, you should choose social activities like hiking with friends or dance or spin classes at the gym. So that's have fun, let off steam, socialize, learn something new. Love that one. And then we've got about 100 pages of journaling. And I do really like these prompts, and she gives you like an entire, how long are we doing this for? 5 weeks to kind of play around with different movement routines. So in general, was that the worst thing I've ever read? No. I think it's more just like dated. And I think that the most dated thing about it that's very telling is that strength training is not even an option. Where really with most of those goals, if you added in strength training, it would help them. Okay, it's time for the big boy. Diet and nutrition. If you stayed with me throughout my journey, then you know that I used to think that bagels were the most important food group. It wasn't until I really found healthy food that I loved both making and eating that I began to feel better in all ways. So I have an issue with this because she immediately associates bagels are bad and they're not healthy. I think I'm gonna say this like 15 more times, but define healthy. What does healthy mean? Because I guarantee if you write down what healthy means to you in the comments, every single person is going to have a different answer. So healthy is not, it's not a useful term because it means something different. Some people think being vegan is healthy. Some people think being low carb is healthy. Some people think eating carnivore is healthy. Like everyone has a different gauge of what healthy is. But in my definition, a bagel can absolutely be healthy. Whether it is enjoyed your favorite way in moderation, whether it is enjoyed in balance, or even if you have a bagel every single day. It's not about one choice. It's about zooming out and looking at all of the choices that you're making for your long-term health. So she goes on to talk about like seeing patterns in what you're eating, identifying emotional hunger. All of these things are like actually good things to think about. Again, I think some of her phrasing is not ideal, and it would have been great to have a registered dietitian or maybe even an RD with like an intuitive eating background just kind of weigh in on this, but we'll let it slide. Now we get into the setting of goals, and let me tell you, the language here is problematic. For week 1, I want to cut out blank. For 1 month, I want to cut out blank. For 1 year, I want to cut out blank. Why are we cutting out whole foods? Why are we doing that? Why aren't we teaching about moderation? Why aren't we teaching about portion sizes? Why aren't we teaching about well-balanced nutrition? Oh, because you have no right to be talking about nutrition. I never want to eat these foods again. You know what foods you should never eat again? Foods you're allergic to or foods that have mold on them. That's it. The second that you put never or I can't in front of something, it's the only thing you're gonna want. Like it's human nature. I want to try eating these foods. I love that. Diversify your palate. I want to learn how to make blank. Great. I don't really love cooking, but you know what? If you want to learn how to make something, you go for it. That's a great positive addition. For 1 week, I want to eat every day, blank. Okay, I want to substitute for blank. That's not really a sentence, but okay. And now we go through, we have our food journal, we have our food analysis, and it's basically just a little journal on like, let's look at your week and see what patterns we saw and how foods made you feel. And again, I don't hate that. I just hate the way that this is framed as black and white or all or nothing, healthy or unhealthy. Now we get into a shopping list where I'm just like, we are really stepping out of our scope of practice. This book is out of your scope of practice, Leah. When you make the decision to eat better, it always helps to start with what is in your home. I don't disagree with that. I keep my house mostly vegan and my stacks as healthy as possible. Good for you. Sorry. No, I say it like that because she's like subconsciously weaving in, more than likely, her very young reader's brain, healthy equals vegan. Lea Michele is beautiful and successful and eats vegan, so I should eat vegan. I saw Katie Heron wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I wore army pants and flip-flops. That way when I'm at home, I know the choices I'm making are good choices. I don't like that phrasing because, again, it associates food with being good or bad. There's no good or bad foods. There's no morality in your food. It's all on a spectrum. I would prefer the verbiage goal-oriented choices, something along those lines. And someone's gonna come in the comments and be like, you're overthinking it, or that's so woo-woo, or blah, blah, blah. It's not. How we talk about our food, how we talk about our choices affects our mental state and affects what we actually choose. So now she goes through and she has a bunch of different healthy snacks. I don't have an issue with any of these snacks that she puts down. They're fine. Like, if you like these things, eat them. The swaps is what gets me. I've also fallen victim to convincing myself that zucchini noodles or zoodles are just as good as normal spaghetti. They're not. They're completely different. One is a vegetable, one is a carb. They don't have the same texture, they don't taste the same. You're tricking yourself if you think they do. You can like both things, but you don't have to cut out the pasta. Anyway, raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by zoodles. We're getting all the Mean Girls references in here. So the first swap is Veganese. This is like a vegan mayo. And she states, when you swap regular mayo for Veganese, you're automatically doing something better for yourself. Veganese is egg-free and has far fewer preservatives and trans fats than traditional mayo. So I'm gonna pop up a nutrition label from like good old-fashioned Hellmann's normal mayonnaise. It is 0 trans fats. So if we're talking preservatives, I don't really know. Like, I'm not even, like, I don't know. If that's something that really concerns you, great. I'm sure you could also just find like a non-vegan mayonnaise that has less preservatives. I typically will buy the Primal Kitchen's mayonnaise because I just trust their ingredients a lot more. But it sounds like Lea is saying eggs are bad for you, dairy's bad for you, so eat Veganese. And that is not rooted in any science. She also suggests quinoa pasta. It has more protein in it than normal pasta, making it a bit healthier. I'm gonna assume that she's adding this in as a good swap because she does eat vegan. So this is a good source of protein for her. I think that this is a good tool. Like, I really enjoy edamame pasta, but I also still enjoy normal pasta. One is not inherently better than the other. It kind of comes down to, again, zooming out and looking at your entire eating routine and just making sure that you're like eating the right amounts of everything for your body and your goals and your health. Rice milk. I actually prefer the taste of this to regular milk. That's great. She talks about how a lot of people don't tolerate dairy, and this is just much easier on your digestive system. This is completely anecdotal. Yes, there are a lot of people who can't tolerate dairy for whatever reason. There's also a lot of people who can, and for those people, it's not inherently unhealthy. Greek yogurt, I actually really like that swap for most people because it is going to be higher in protein than just like a normal yogurt and typically have less sugar, but again, that kind of depends on like the flavor and brand and everything like that. Ezekiel bread, not only is this delicious, but it has protein in it as well. Yeah, Ezekiel bread's also like $85 fucking dollars. Almond butter, as addictive as Skippy, but much healthier. I can't roll my eyes back in my head far enough. Earth Balance butter, organic and vegan, but as great and creamy as the real thing. Yeah, if you also look at the ingredients, it's probably wild. I say that because in every other statement, she is so concerned about preservatives and ingredients, but let's choose this fake butter. Anyway. And then we have some more journal. I have a few. Oh, she put in some fun food challenges for us, guys. Yeah, we're gonna do the Lea Michele elimination diet. It can be interesting to try different clean diets to see how they impact your system. Yeah, it can be really interesting. Like, it might impact your system differently, like give you an eating disorder. So for 1 week, you're gonna go gluten-free because it can be transformative. Oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna do this for 2 weeks. Great. Then for another 2 weeks, you're gonna go dairy-free. Then for another 2 weeks, you're going to go vegan because Lea finds that it's a great way to clean and reset my system. I said it before, I will say it again. You don't need to clean or reset your system. If you have a functioning liver and kidneys, it's gonna do it for you. You don't need a cleanse, you don't need a detox, you don't need to do anything to get rid of toxins that are building up in your body. And if you do, you need to do it with a doctor. not with Lea Michele's journal book. Okay, I was about to sit up and be like, I hope that was helpful. I hope that was educational. I don't really know what this video is. This video is about as unhinged as the fact that Lea Michele wrote a book. Wrote 2 books. All right, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I will see you all in the next one.